The lock fought the keys, then surrendered with a tired click. The door swung in, and Kayla Monroe half stumbled, half crawled across the threshold like the night had chewed her up and spit her out. One sneaker, dress twisted, mascara like smoke under her eyes. Behind the haze of perfume lingered a second scent, sharp, unfamiliar, the kind of aftershave that doesn't come from our bathroom cabinet. I was waiting in the living room, elbows on knees, coffee cold. The digital clock on the TV stand rolled to 5:59. "Morning," I said. She blinked, tried a smile that never made it past her lips. "Noah, you're up early." "Didn't sleep." I stood. My voice came out steady, even though my ribs felt like they were laced with wire. "Where were you?" "Out with the girls." She wobbled toward the hallway, fingertips grazing the wall like a lifeline. "We went downtown. You know how it is, music, dancing." "Who drove?" I asked. Natalie. Or maybe Jess." Her hand fluttered to her neck. I didn't have to look hard to see the shadowed crescent marks blooming there. I also didn't have to guess whose scent had written home on her dress. I pulled out my phone and hit call. Speaker. It rang 3 times before Natalie answered, voice thick with sleep. "Noah, everything okay? Just checking if Kayla was with you last night." "Me? No, I was home. Kids had a fever." A pause. "Is Kayla all right?" I ended the call. The living room went quiet except for the refrigerator's low hum. Kayla's mouth opened and closed. "I can explain." "Try." She sagged into the armchair like gravity had doubled. "Please don't be angry." "I'm not angry," I said. "Anger is loud. This is different." Her eyes glossed. Silence stretched, thin and dangerous, until the truth finally clawed its way out. "It was Trent," she whispered. "It's been a little while. Names are heavy when they belong to people woven through your life. Mine is Noah Briggs. I'm 44, an Ohio kid who turned a 2-man asphalt crew into Briggs and Lawson Paving. Lawson is Trent, my best friend since Little League, my business partner, the guy who signed our first loan right beside me. We've eaten burned hot dogs off the same job site grill, hauled each other's junk out of moving trucks, stood side by side at my wedding. At our house. I asked. She stared at the arm of the chair. "Sometimes. Our daughter." My throat sandpapered over her name. "Was Mia here?" "She was asleep," Kayla said, as if that were a kindness. "She never." "Stop." I didn't raise my voice. "Didn't have to. Get up." She swayed to her feet. "Take a shower. Gather your things. When you're done, you're going to your sister's. We'll talk about schedules later." "Noah, please. I made mistakes." You made choices." I pointed down the hall. She went. I stood alone, fingers pressed into my temples, listening to the shower run. 15 years. 3 years of doctor visits when the word infertility became a third person in our marriage. The day a nurse put Mia in my arms and told me I was a father. The late nights closing bids while Kayla texted that dinner was getting cold. Every piece clicked into a picture I didn't want to recognize. I texted my mom, Joan Briggs, retired school secretary, believer in telling the truth even when it costs you, asking if Mia could stay another few hours. She replied within 15 seconds. "Of course. Pancakes are happening." When the water stopped, I met Kayla in the hallway. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, hair pulled back like we were heading to parent-teacher conference. She reached for my hand. I didn't move. "Why Trent?" I asked. "Because he listened," she said, words spilling out. "Because you were always working. Because I felt invisible. Because you could," I said. "Go." She grabbed a duffel and walked out. The house held its breath. I watched the street until her car disappeared, then went to the garage, hit the opener, and stared at the trucks parked like loyal dogs. The Briggs and Lawson logos on the doors looked back at me. The ampersand felt like a bruise. I called Trent. He picked up on the second ring. "Noah, 10 minutes. Your place." I hung up. By the time I climbed his narrow apartment stairs, my anger had cooled from wildfire to blade. He opened the door with a look I'd never seen on him. Shame, thinned with fear. "You told her to tell me?" I asked. "I told her we couldn't do this anymore," he said. "I was going to talk to you today." "You did talk to me," I replied. "Months ago. You just forgot I wasn't in the room." He reached for words. I reached for something I could live with. "You're going to sign your half of the company to me for $1, I said. "Today. We used my family land as collateral, The brand is my name. You violated our morals clause and endangered our biggest municipal contracts. I will take this to the board and to every client we have. Or you sign, you walk, we never speak again." His mouth worked. "Noah, come on. We built it together." "No," I said. "I bled for it while you learned how to lie." He didn't ask what would happen if he refused. He knew. He sagged, nodded once, and opened his laptop. By noon, a notary had witnessed the transfer. By 12:06, Trent Lawson was out of Briggs & Lawson. By 12:10, I deleted the ampersand from our website header like a splinter pulled clean. I didn't celebrate. I drove to my mother's. Mia met me at the door with syrup on her chin and a paper crown she'd made at preschool. When she asked where Mommy was, I said, "Mommy's staying with Aunt Jenna for a little bit." And then I changed the subject to her crown. She told me it made her brave. I believed her. I needed a little of that bravery too. I called our attorney, Marcus Hale, a square-shouldered man with a habit of listening until you wonder if he's still on the line. "I need a consult," I said. "Personal and business." "Come in at 3, he replied. "Bring anything that hurts to hold." What hurts to hold? The shoebox I found at the back of Kayla's closet qualified. I hadn't been looking for it. I'd gone for a spare blanket and bumped the box with my knuckles. Inside were folded notes, ticket stubs, receipts. Not a cliché, evidence. The notes were from different hands. E. Cole. Initials on cards with glitter roses like something bought on the way to an apology. A coaster with a number and a smiley face in a stranger's loopy script. A hotel, folio signed TL. The dates braided over years, not months. A printout from a private gym with a guest pass for Trent L. A doctor's appointment card from 4 years back that didn't match the fertility clinic's name. I carried the box to Marcus's office like it was a brick I could finally set down. He spread everything across his desk with a methodical calm that slowed my pulse. "We can file for divorce on grounds of adultery," he said. "In Ohio, that allows us to argue for primary custody if it's in Mia's best interest. We'll document that any inappropriate activity occurred while Mia was present in the home. We'll also formalize a business separation you've already initiated." Well, I have to test. The word stuck. I swallowed. "Paternity. If you want certainty," he said, not unkindly. "We'll request it quietly to avoid circus." I nodded because breathing was too ambitious. After I left Marcus's office, I went to my mother's and watched Mia build a city from wooden blocks. Between towers, my mind replayed routines, now illuminated in harsh light. Our life had patterns. Monday mornings, Kayla's green smoothie, my thermos of black coffee, Mia's yogurt with strawberries, 3 spoons bumping the rim of one bowl because she liked to share. Wednesday nights, my late shift bidding municipal lots while Kayla did yoga with the girls. Fridays, date night that had degraded into takeout and a favor. "Could you pick up my order?" I'm in the bath, my phone lighting up with photos she'd send, candles around the tub, her knees above the waterline, captioned with "Miss you." Simple domestic desires braided with something hollow I'd never examined. And us, before it all frayed. We had been a real couple. Road trips to minor league ballparks. Cheap diner breakfasts at 6 a.m. before the crew rolled out. A day in August when Kayla told me she loved how the tar smell stuck to me after a long job. Said it meant I worked hard. I turned that into a vow to give her everything she asked for, even when she stopped asking and started taking. It's hard to learn your marriage also had a second plot running under the floorboards. It's harder to see where you helped hammer those planks into place. I didn't excuse her, but I took inventory of myself anyway. The paternity test came back a week later. Mia was mine. The email subject line, results, put my knees against the edge of the workbench before I found a place to sit. I pressed my forehead to the cool metal and let a long, quiet breath leave my body. Not a sob, not relief shaped like a noise. Just a release, like air from a tire finally patched. The next afternoon, Kayla texted, "We need to talk." I proposed a public coffee shop. She countered with our kitchen for privacy. I declined. The coffee shop was bright and indifferent, exactly what we needed. She arrived looking like someone rehearsing sincerity. Plain sweater, hair tucked, hands around a paper cup she didn't drink. "I'm sorry," she said, and for a moment it even sounded like she meant it. "For what?" I asked. "For letting it get this far. For hurting you." She looked down. It started because I felt unappreciated. Then I realized I liked the danger. I liked who I was when someone looked at me like I was the story, not the supporting act. You could have told me you felt invisible, I said. I tried, she replied. But you always had invoices and schedules in your head. Every time I started a conversation, your phone buzzed. So you found someone who put his phone down, I said. At least long enough. Her jaw tightened. You've already punished me. You took Trent's share. You told your mother. I protected my company and my daughter, I said. If you feel punished, that might be your conscience figuring out how to work. Her eyes flashed with something sharper. My lawyer says I can push for 50-50 custody. Your lawyer is welcome to try, I replied. Just be ready for the shoebox. The paper cup bent in her hands. I never wanted this. You wanted what you could get away with, I said. We're different now. She stared at me, suddenly assessing, as if measuring not just my resolve but the geometry of my next moves. It was the first time I understood that manipulation wasn't a single act. It was a language some people spoke fluently, and she was thinking in it even now. We agreed on a temporary schedule. She could see Mia at her sister Jenna's on Sundays for 2 hours, supervised by Jenna until the court made it formal. Kayla stood as if leaving rehearsal, script in her purse. Goodbye, Noah. Goodbye, I said. And then I called Marcus to file. Revenge stories love fire. Tires squealing, fists thrown, dramatic confrontations in parking lots. That's not how my revenge worked. Mine wore a tie and balanced a ledger. Mine slept 8 hours, woke up early, and sent emails with receipts attached. First, the company. Our operating agreements included a clause, not moralistic, just practical, about conduct that could materially harm contracts or reputation. Small towns talk. So do procurement officers. When a business partner's name becomes a punchline, your bids get, "We appreciate your interest," emails instead of awards. Marcus drafted the notice. Trent's signature had already solved the ownership problem. I visited our 3 biggest clients personally, looked them in the eye style, and I told the simple truth. My partner violated my trust and endangered the company. He's gone. You will always get straight talk from me. We kept every account. Second, the money trail. Kayla had 3 credit cards I didn't know about, all near their limit. Hotels, lounges, boutique jewelry. Marcus filed for injunctions preventing new joint debt and freezing any accounts she could weaponize. When her lawyer complained, Marcus sent her the spreadsheet. Numbers end arguments. Third, the narrative. I didn't speak badly of Kayla in public. I didn't have to. People who need to defend you will always do too much. I let the town make up its own mind while I kept my head down and my work excellent. When gossip tries to bait you, excellence is a better answer than any speech. Fourth, the leverage. Remember Trent's habit of charming inspectors? Turns out charm doesn't replace OSHA compliance. While he was busy being reckless with my life, he'd also been careless with our safety logs. Nothing catastrophic, thank God. But Marcus used that negligence, paired with the reputation clause, to justify the buyout terms if anyone asked later. No one did. And finally, the part where revenge feels like justice instead of violence. I played the long game with custody. Kayla texted the second week. I can't do Sunday. Jenna's out of town. Can Mia come to my apartment? I replied, not until the court orders it. You can see her, my mother's with me present for 1 hour. She showed up late, left early, and spent 20 minutes complaining about how I'd humiliated her. Mia built a puzzle on the rug and offered Kayla a piece. Kayla didn't notice. The third week, Kayla tried a different angle. If you don't give me more time, she said in a call she recorded without telling me, I'll tell the court you were controlling, that you kept me from friends, that you raise your voice. Play that for the judge, I replied, then show him the shoebox. Click. Her revenge would not be creative. It would be predictable. Smears, tears, accusations stitched to half-truths. The thing about predictable attacks is that you can prepare for them without becoming paranoid. I documented. I stayed steady. I didn't send a single text I wouldn't want read aloud. That steadiness scared her more than shouting would have. At the first hearing, Kayla wore a dove gray dress and the kind of pearl earrings you choose when you want to look like the reasonable one. Her lawyer argued for shared custody. Marcus waited, then emptied the shoebox with surgical care. Dates, names, timestamps, and then the detail that made the judge's eyebrows rise. The hotel receipt with our address listed under additional guest, and a Sunday timestamp when Mia should have been napping in her bed. Kayla stared at the table like it had betrayed her. Primary custody to Mr. Briggs, the judge said. Supervised visitation to Ms. Monroe until further review. Child support set according to statute. Kayla's mouth opened in shock. She looked at me the way a trapped person looks at a door that won't budge. I didn't smile. Revenge, when you do it right, doesn't need a victory grin. It just needs a line drawn straight. People who lie for a living rarely retire quietly. They stage comebacks, then blame the crowd for not applauding. Kayla's version looked like this. First came the apology tour. Social media posts with soft focus photos. A cup of tea, a window, a caption about healing. People posted hearts. A few posted knives. I stayed offline. Then the smear. An anonymous account messaged some mutual friends with old photos of me at job sites, shirtless in August heat, paired with a story about how I'd become controlling and isolated Kayla. She wasn't clever enough to hide the metadata. Marcus wrote one letter. The account vanished. Next, the legal feint. Her lawyer filed for immediate expanded visitation, citing emotional hardship. We responded with a parenting plan built like a brick wall. Consistent routines, school schedules, tutoring, doctor visits, and a log of every hour Mia spent building Lego castles or practicing letters at my mother's kitchen table. The judge denied the motion with a note about stability. Kayla tried a final angle. Tears in a parking lot when she spotted me carrying Mia from preschool. "Noah, please," she said, voice cracking in that way that used to pull me forward like a rope. "I miss my family." Mia looked between us, serious as a tiny judge in pink sneakers. "We'll see you Sunday, Mommy," she said. I buckled my daughter into her booster. Kayla's tears dried up as fast as they'd come. At home, I cooked dinner the way I always do when my mind needs an anchor. Chicken with olive oil, salt, lemon, and thyme. Mia colored at the table, narrating a story about a hedgehog who wore a cape. After we ate, we fed the neighbor's cat because Mr. Callahan was visiting his sister. We brushed teeth. Bedtime story. Lights out. I sat in the hallway for 5 minutes, listening to her breathe, and understood something crucial. Calm is a form of strength. It doesn't feel like a movie, but it builds a life. A month later, Trent sent a text. "Can we talk?" I deleted it. 2 months later, I saw him at a gas station off Route 23. He looked older, edges frayed, smile forced. He started toward me with palms up. I turned away and kept pumping gas. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Kayla's counter-moves dwindled into inconveniences. She missed 2 visitations and blamed traffic. The third time, she arrived with a new boyfriend who waited in the car, revving the engine like he could fix their lives with volume. The court took notes. So did I. When the final orders came through, primary custody to me, supervised visitation to Kayla every other weekend, and child support, there was no celebration. Paperwork doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like a lock clicking. Here's the part one didn't expect. The grief that came after the win. Not grief for the marriage. I'd buried that already. But grief for the version of myself who believed that hard work insulated you from betrayal. I took a Friday off and drove to the state park where my father had taught me how to skip stones. He's been gone 10 years. I sat on a flat rock and talked to him anyway. "You told me to keep my word," I said. I did. And when other people didn't, I kept mine to myself and to my kid. I hope that counts. The wind moved across the water. I skipped a stone 6 times and laughed at myself when the 7th try sank. On the way home, my phone buzzed with a message from a number saved as Ava, Mia's teacher. We talked briefly at pickup lines, the fast kind of small talk that makes your day feel lighter. Her text was simple. "Neighborhood coffee Saturday?" No pressure. I stared at the screen longer than necessary, then typed, "Coffee sounds good." Redemption doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives in 3 quiet chapters. Chapter 1, Routine. We built rituals that made our house strong. Monday breakfasts were 3-spoon yogurt again. Tuesday evenings, Mia and I cooked from her picture cookbook. Our meatballs were lumpy and perfect. Wednesday nights became game night with my mother and Mr. Callahan. Uno dealt like a high-stakes tournament. Saturdays, Ava and I took Mia to the farmer's market. Ava carried a tote with a hand-painted sunflower and a notepad where she wrote down what Mia wanted to bake. There was no rush toward declarations. The romance grew the way sidewalks cure, slowly, with weight and weather making them stronger. Chapter 2. Work. With the ampersand retired, the crew doubled down. We got a municipal lot rehab that would have once gone to a bigger competitor. I trained a foreman, Luis, to handle day-to-day scheduling. He showed me a spreadsheet he'd built that predicted labor needs by weather and school calendars. "You taught me the quality standard," he said. "Let me teach you how to sleep." We implemented the plan. My phone pinged less at dinner. Work didn't stop. It just stopped owning me. Chapter 3. Forgiveness. Not of them, but of myself. One night after Mia fell asleep, I sat on the porch with a lemonade that tasted like August and told Ava the ugliest parts. The shoebox. The apartment stairs. The part of me that almost believed I'd failed because I hadn't been romantic enough, attentive enough, anything enough. She listened without interrupting, then put her palm over mine. "You didn't cause the choices they made," she said. "You're responsible for the home you're building now. And it's a good one." Mia started kindergarten with a backpack covered in stars. I packed her lunch with note cards that said things like "You can do brave things," and "P.S. Dad loves you." She brought them home, with smiley faces drawn next to my words. Kayla kept her visitation scheduled 5 times in a row, then missed 2. She started showing up again when the court warned her about consequences. I stayed polite, said hello, monitored the clock, and took notes. Once, she told me I looked happier now that you've moved on. I didn't answer. She didn't need my confirmation to know it was true. A year after the divorce was final, I stood at a community fundraiser and donated the resurfacing of the park paths where families walk strollers on Sunday afternoons. The microphone made my voice tinny. "We're grateful to be part of this town," I said. "We plan to be here a long time." People clapped. Not for me, for the idea that things can break and still be made sturdy again. On our porch that night, Ava leaned her head on my shoulder. "You used to hold your breath when you said the word future," she said. "You don't anymore. Maybe because I can see it now." I said, "What does it look like?" "Homework at the table, and a dog if Mia gets her way." I said, "A crew that clocks out at 5. Sunday pancakes. You." All of it quiet and honest. She squeezed my hand. "That's my favorite kind of story. There's one more scene, and it doesn't look like revenge, but I promise you it is." I was in the hardware store aisle comparing deck stain when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Trent. He'd lost weight he couldn't afford to lose. His shirt hung loose at the collar. He saw me, swallowed, and nodded like a man approaching a truth he'd dodged. "Noah," he said. I wanted to say, "I know," I said. "Take care, Trent." I turned back to the shelf. He stood there for a second, then left. No grand speeches, no public absolution. Just a man who learned that burning bridges also burns your map. That moment contained the only apology I needed. Consequences doing their work. Mia and I stained the deck that afternoon, her in one of my old shirts as a paint smock, hair under a baseball cap. She asked good questions, the kind kids ask when they sense weight under words. "Dad, why did you take that off the trucks?" "Because it wasn't true anymore," I said. "And we tell the truth here, even when it's hard, especially then." She dipped her brush, careful, tongue out in concentration. "It looks better this way," she said. I looked at the deck, the yard, the house, the life, and understood she was right. If you're listening for the thunderclap ending, you'll miss it. The real ending is smaller and stronger. Mia running across new pavement at the park, squealing that her scooter goes so smooth, Ava's hand finding mine in a crowd without looking, my mother cutting strawberry hearts for Saturday pancakes. It's the knowledge that my revenge never needed to be cruel to be complete. It needed to be precise, patient, and guided by one unshakable compass. Protect the kid, protect the work, protect the man I'm trying to be. Kayla once told me danger made her feel alive. Turns out, integrity makes me feel something better. It makes me free. And that ampersand, we didn't replace it with a new name. We replaced it with a promise. Briggs Paving. No lies welded into the logo. No borrowed loyalties. Just a company that stands on its own feet, and a father who does the same. That's not the fireworks ending. It's the foundation. And foundations, laid straight, poured right last.